welcome to part 5 of setting up the blacksmithing shop. Hopefully, this will be the last part. This is basically what we're going to be building. It's going to be a welding bench. The idea is it's going to look something like this, and believe it or not, these diagrams actually mean something to me. I'm not entirely sure how obvious it is to anybody else, but basically, just watch and you'll see. Long story short, I've been waiting for the steel to arrive, which now has, and I've also got some plate steel inside, which will act as the countertop. But yeah, frankly, I just need to get chopping, get welding, and get building. So without any further ado, let's do it! Well, there's all the pieces cut. Now we've just got to get onto the welding. So here we are with the top 3 prongs all welded up and sorted. I didn't tell you at the start, but what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to have it as a flip-top welding table. So the idea is these 2 panels, there'll be a nice smooth welding surface on the one side, but when you flip them over, I'm going to attach my meter saw and my bandsaw accordingly, so that they're stored nicely out of the way when I'm not using them, but it's quick and easy to set up, and like I say, it's a useful welding surface in the meantime. So the next thing I've got to do is weld on the actual legs now for the main structure, and then it'll be a case of working on the tabletop, which I'm still kind of figuring out in my head how I'm going to do that. Nice. Well, as you can see, that's the table that we've so far completed in place. A slight issue I've run into, where I was doing the welds at the back, sort of here, it's warped in these bars. So as you can see, this plate that is 60 by 60 centimetres is too narrow now to actually fit at this end. It will go down at the back, so basically, just with the heat, it's caused this end to pinch. And you can actually see that if I grab a tape measure. Oh, I'm gonna have to try and do this one-handed, bear with me. So on this side, we are at 130, well, 1,345, give or take, and it should be, if I now do the one at the back, should be 1,360. So we've lost about 1.5 centimetres through warpage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get some threaded bar, which I'm going to run all the way through. It'll be what the tables rotate on anyway. And I'll use some bolts to sort of hopefully be able to push this piece of, or these pieces of steel open again, and then hopefully they should freely rotate. Then I've just got to figure out how I'm actually going to connect these up to the bar. Well, with a little jiggery pokery, this is what I've knocked up. Just a piece of threaded bar, bolt on one end which slides into a hole, bolt on the other end slides all the way through. And then all I'm doing is I'm basically spreading the nuts apart by screwing it further down the bar, and that appears to have given me the clearance I need to get the plate in, but let's just double check that and make sure. These plates are heavy. There you go. Might even need to give it just a couple more mil clearance just to allow it to actually swing around freely, but yep, that seems to fit in between now at least anyway. There it is. Cool. So the next step is obviously how I'm going to connect these plates to the bars. Unfortunately, money is tight this month and I don't have enough for the box steel to go the full circumference of the square. So what I have done is I've chopped up 4 little cube pieces and they're going to go basically one on either side there and there. And then I've also got these slightly longer rectagonal pieces and they're going to go in the middle as well, just to provide a bit of additional support, and hopefully that'll be enough. I can also then use that, because this is also 50 mil high, if you like. I can also use this then to bolt on something on the underside to provide the second surface when it's flipped over. So my original plan was to insert these casters into the bottom of the leg and then drill through and bolt them on. But to be honest with you, the steel here is so thick and it's such a pain to drill accurately that I think trying to line up 4 holes per leg is just going to be time consuming and time wasting. So instead, I've bought these casters. They're a lot better quality. I've also got 2 with brakes on, which none of these ones did. And all I'm going to do is, if you imagine this is the end of the leg, I'm going to put that in place and I'm going to weld through each of the holes there onto the bottom of the leg. You can just see they sort of poke through. So that's my plan. I'll do that now. I'll flip the table over and weld these in place. What I've also now done is just welded 2 pieces of angle iron together, which I've then welded onto the main body, and I've also added just a little bit of the excess threaded bar and just welded that onto the frame at the back. This is going to be a nice little holder for my welder, which will sit in there, and then the clip at the back will be for my negative clamp. And that can just sit like that, so the table will always be live as soon as the welder is turned on. I'd also have to make another little hook somewhere for the main, the electrode head. And yeah, just makes it look all tidy and nice. And I don't have to keep pulling the thing around and mucking around with it. Just to add to it slightly, I put a little bit of chipboard underneath just to make it level, and then I've surrounded all 3 sides with rubber just to try and prevent it from arcing or shorting in the event of a slight fault. But yeah, that's that bit all done now. So as you can see, I've already now connected up one of the tabletops. It still catches slightly in this corner, but overall it is done, it is welded up, and it turns. I've got the second one down here ready to start welding. It's all measured up, it's all lined up in place. So yeah, let's get on with that. There we go, there it is with both of the flip top lids on. I've got another one of these pieces of sheet steel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these gaps at the back. The reason they're there is basically because I could only order these pieces in 60 by 60, but in order to get my meter saw on, I need it to be 80 in total, because otherwise the thing won't flip round without the meter saw hitting the wall. So I had to add this little sort of extension bit on, which is fine, I don't particularly mind it, but yeah, I've got to chop up my other 600 by 600 mil and basically fill in these gaps. Shouldn't take too long, and then pretty much there, besides a few aesthetic things. What I'm now going to do, I'm just going to weld some support beams in place, like this one here. This is just currently held in by friction. I need to cut another one out here, and then we need to weld those in. Right, that's got everything welded up where it should be. Oh, I'm knackered. This table has suddenly started to weigh a ton. What I now need to do is not honestly ideal. What I would have liked to have done is use some more of this box section and created a square frame all around the outside. However, like I say, funds are tight this month, so I'm going to have to use 50mm pieces of wood, and I'll attach them from the underside with wood screws. And then I've got some ply to create the other side's table surface, and I'm just going to screw that on. So that's the next job. God, I'm knackered. I won't lie to you, there was a lot of tantrums and a lot of swear words during that. But we finally got all the holes drilled and the pieces of wood screwed into place. Now we've got to cut the ply into shape. Nice. Now I just need to figure out how to lock it in place once it's finished turning. Nice. Well, I've been out shopping using Facebook Marketplace and I've finally managed to get myself a ladder. So that'll make the next job a whole lot easier. Right. Well, I'm a bit delayed, but I need to sort out this drain blockage. By the looks of it, it's as simple as there's a bunch of stuff gunking this up, but I'll give the drain a clean as well, using this wire ferret. So, yeah, let's do that. God, I'm like Bambi on ice up here. I hate heights. Alright, straight off the get-go, let's get this crap out of the way. There we go. So whilst I'm waiting for a few little parts to arrive in order to make my locking mechanism, I've bought a little vise. It only cost me 20 quid, which is probably like, I don't know, 25, 30 bucks. But yeah, it's a little diddy thing. It's small, it's functional, it does the job. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it pretty much as you see it, which may seem like a bit of a strange place, sort of in the far corner. But that way, it doesn't interfere at all with the, you know, the turning of the tabletop. And it doesn't really need to be particularly strong where it is. All I'm going to use it for is clamping things whilst I'm welding, so I can literally do it from a standing position, weld where I am here just by using these as a bit of an extra pair of hands. Obviously the current's going to run straight through the vise, so the vise will be live as well as the tabletop, so it's pretty much as you see. But I just figure it's a nice little addition just to keep it small and tucked away and out of the way, and when the saw is in its usable position, it doesn't interfere at all, it doesn't get in the way of the actual slide, and I have checked it when I rotate the whole head. Again, it doesn't get in the way, so let's get on and secure it to the bench. These new drill bits are really good. Nice. Well, I'm still waiting for the parts to arrive, so I've been busy decorating my walls. It's all starting to come together and look pretty tidy. As you can see, there's been a few extra things done since you saw the last video. I've moved all the Hi-Fi system up to here to give myself extra storage underneath. I've obviously installed these on the walls, I've put my belt grinder belts on the walls, my welding helmet. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to put an aluminium back, just so the spatter from the table won't damage the wall. And then up here I've got the other half of this. You might remember this, it was on the wall over here in the old garage, and I said I was going to keep it and restore it. I've chopped it in half, I've painted the back black, I've tried to clean the bins as best I can, and I've been labelling. The other half is still out here and has yet to be done. And then what I've also done is I've put in some shelves at the back here, which I've put the phase converter on and a few bits of my power hammer. And I've also got this tool chest and another shelf. So storage wise, I think I'm doing quite well. Considering I've got a very small space to work with, I've tried my hardest to lay it out well. But I suppose long term, only time will tell whether or not I've done a decent job. Well, I snapped my bloody tap off, didn't I? Which I suppose is one way of doing it, because that will actually now work, but it's definitely not the most economical. There we go, that's what's supposed to happen. So, about a month has gone by since that last clip, and as you can see, I've been having a hell of a time, mainly working with wood for a change. Basically in the house I've been having to do a fair bit of work and putting down a laminate floor and skirting boards and whatnot, but as a result, unfortunately the workshop has seen better days, so I need to give this a good tidy. What I can say is that the meter saw has absolutely come into its own. But yeah, I'm afraid that's the reason for the delay. So first things first, let's get all of this sorted out, and then hopefully we can carry on with the welding table. Who says you can't weld thin steel? Proof that you can, right there. There you go, something like that. Now I've just got to weld it in, but otherwise that seems to, well, once it's welded that should work pretty nicely. Well, besides being a bit dirty, that seems to work okay. Now I'm in Amsterdam. Well, to be honest, some time has passed. There's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, I've been ill. Secondly, it's been Christmas and New Year's and things have been busy. And thirdly, things all went a bit wrong. The rod inside here, I think where I drilled and tapped to put the stop in, weakened and bent and broke. Unfortunately, whilst it does still kind of work, it's not working very well, so I need to redo all of this. And that put me in a real I can't be bothered mood, which I've been fighting for ages. So today, I've finally summoned up some willpower. I'm going to redo the locking mechanisms, and I'm just going to get on with it and try and get it finished. Wish me luck! So, it's been a bit of a morning of trial and errors. I tried welding the plug in place to give this some additional strength, but as you can see, it just ate through the piece of steel I've been using. So, my solution, I have taken a piece of 8mm bar rather than the 6mm bar I was using. As you can see here, I've ground down the diameter of it using the belt sander. Unfortunately, I am too cheap to afford a lathe, but yet that now seems to work pretty well as a stop for the spring, so I'm hoping that this will be the solution. So next I've got to thin this bit down, thread it, and put the nubbin back on the end. Where is the nubbin? The nubbin. Right, there we go. There's the first one completed. Now I've just got to work out how to uninstall this one. I don't think it's going to be done particularly cleanly. Well, I've managed to grind through the old welds. It's just a case of getting this thing off now, but it's still pretty firmly stuck. Jesus. Just goes to show how strong even a tack is. Yeah, so this is what went wrong with the old one. As you can see, right where the pin is inserted, it's sheared across. And the weld on that thin piece of steel did not hold. So I've got to eat a bit of humble pie, and when I said earlier, who says you can't weld thin steel? Sensible people did. Sensible people said that. Okay, so here is my solution to the problem. I've recycled the internal piece that was in here, welded up against that. I've managed to chop that off, as you can see, a bit messily, but should still be able to get away with that. And then rather than using a piece of pipe like I did on the original one, which was way too thin, I've chopped up some pieces of 1-inch square bar, and on this one I've drilled a hole all the way through, which fits nicely through there, and I'm going to weld that onto here, and then I'm going to have to cut a bigger groove in the side in order to insert it and weld it in place there. And hopefully that should be heavy duty enough to survive, but we will see. Well, she ain't pretty, but this piece now fits in, just in there, like that. And the other piece now fits in there, like that. So I've just got to weld this back into place and then give it another test, and hopefully that has solved the problem. Well guys, I've got to be honest with you, I've got it all welded in place, and whilst it is working, it's not working brilliantly. It's also not exactly a looker, but I think I'm at the stage now where, to be honest with you, I'm going to put this one down to experience, or lack thereof, and I'm going to leave it as is. Partially because I don't think I'm going to get it any better on this one. I think I've made too many mistakes on this. I've just had to kind of botch it and botch it and botch it. I'll obviously try harder on the next one and see if maybe I can fix my mistakes and implement a better system. But for this side, I think it's going to stay as is. The other reason is because, frankly, I don't want to spend any more time on this. I just want to get back to forging. I want to get back to fabricating, and all this is doing is putting me in a massive depression at the moment, which I know is not exactly the most jolly note to film a YouTube video on, but I'm just being honest with you. So it is what it is. Let's move on. And there it is with the bandsaw now reattached. So one side, we'll call that done. Well, the good news is that the trial and error of the first attempt appears to have rubbed off, because this second attempt I was able to smash out in about half an hour as opposed to the God knows how long it took me to do the first one. So next step is to disconnect the chop saw, get all that off, and then basically chop holes in the side again and hope we don't mess it up. I'm really hoping that this side works out better. Okay, so good news. We are flying through this side. This is now all welded in place. As you can see, if I get the light right, it's sticking out there nicely. It works if it's not too hot to touch. So the next step, I need to grind the gap in the back here, and then we just need to weld the tabs on. And God forbid, hopefully that might be it. This table has killed me. And lo and behold, I think we're done. This is now all welded up on both sides. And hopefully, I don't know if I can do this one-handed. There we go. It does turn, and it does, come on, it does lock in place. So now I've just got to reattach the chop saw and then give everything a good clean, because holy cow, this workshop needs sorting out. Well guys, it's done, finally. This has been the bane of my life for the last few months. Like I say, it's not perfect, there's definitely things that could be improved upon, but do you know what? It's strong, it's solid, it does what it's designed for. So yeah, overall, I guess I'm pretty pleased with it really. Like I say, I apologise for the reason in content. This has been the main reason, mixed with the fact that the stuff from the house has been creating a load of things like wood dust in here, which obviously mixed with fire is a bad combination. So I do really, really want to get back onto the forging soon. So I promise, bear with me, there will be some stuff with fire. Anyway, hopefully you liked what you saw, and if you would like, comment, subscribe, you'd be doing me a huge favour. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. I've got something planned for that, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.